welcome to the show.
Always a pleasure to be here. Good morning, Nigerians.
And join us via Zoom, an economist, Mr. Paul ALAJE. Okay, well, let's sink our teeth into it. What some people call Tinubu'S, before it was Buhari'Nomics. Well, on his first day in office, in fact, a few minutes after his inauguration, President Tinubu said subsidy is gone. Now, looking back, that decision justified?
Even though the economics and all of the hula baloo around subsidy wasn't so clear, even to those at the helms of affairs, its removal brought some kind of relief. Because when you look at the monies that were used in servicing the subsidy, was quite huge on the Nigerian pocket. So taking it away was a good thing. To us, it was a good thing because it was trying to cut costs. But unfortunately, there were no plans to ameliorate the consequences of the removal. And if you say you removed subsidy because you wanted to manage the funds of Nigerians, you shouldn't also be the same person taking the highest contingent on some conference voyage and spending the Nigerian monies lavishly at the same time. So it's contradictory. If the president said he was removing subsidy to cut costs and tighten up on the pulse of the nation, shouldn't be the same president that is allocating supplementary budgetary allocations to the office of the First Lady to buy cars, and even to his own office to buy cars, carrying one of the largest contingents to a climate conference in Dubai, and all of the...
Well, of course, we were told many of them were not funded by the federal governments. They went...
They cannot be, they can only deceive themselves, because if you look at the list, you see a lot of civil servants there. Are civil servants going to fund themselves? And under the normal practice of governance, if they go outside the country like that, they will definitely get per diems, which is going to be in dollars. I mean, there's nothing to justify the lavish spending of the scarce resources of the nation by the very few people that have actually been involved in putting the Nigerian nation into this economic comatose. They cannot be sacrificing little while Nigerians will be sacrificing so much more. The sacrifice must start at the office of the president, which in himself he has not even lived to his words. If you remove subsidy to save money for the Nigerian state, you shouldn't be spending that same money lavishly. I mean, as of today, the palliative wage for civil servants, only 1 month has been paid out of the due 3 months that was promised. I mean, you cannot continue to treat the entirety of the nation with so much irrelevance. I mean, you take them as if they are not relevant in the scheme of things, and you are living fine. You are maintaining a very elaborate
lifestyle. About palliative wage.
Yes.
Are you referring to federal workers or state workers? I mean, based on information available to some of us.
I mean, it is actually the federal workers.
Workers, okay.
And that was expected to also be, domiciled in the states. But you know how the kind of government we are running. I mean, some states are still finding it hard to even pay the 18,000 minimum wage. So, but at the federal level, the workers have just received the 35,000 naira for 1 month, ever since.
Since I think October or thereabout.
Yes, thereabout, and that was almost, they got it based on threatening the government that they were going to go on strike. And look at it today. They are getting just 1 month out of payable 3 months or thereabouts in a promise of 6 months that they said they were going to pay. But if you look at the life of the people at the helms of affairs, nothing has changed. Nothing is showing that they are cutting their coats or cutting the cost of running government. In fact, it is more abysmal than what we've ever seen. And if you say you have so much political experience, nobody should tell you that the first thing you are supposed to do in office as the Nigerian president is to cut costs.
I mean, sometimes they tell us that some of these things that they have allocated resources to, yes, scarce, you may be right by saying that, some of them are statutory, and those things would actually aid their effectiveness in office.
Exactly. A 160 million naira car would aid their performance in office. So is that the minimum that we can get, considering the pulse of the nation and considering the zeal to perform their statutory responsibilities? We must be doing some level of economic analysis, cost analysis.
Well, Mr. FALOYE, you may have to hold your thoughts. It seems Mr. Paul ALAJE has joined us via Zoom. Good morning, Mr. Paul. Well, I'm glad to have you join us. The topic is examining President Tinubu's economic policies and the current realities. So I would like to hear from you, your viewpoint, giving your viewpoints, your assessments of the economic policies or plans of the current administration so far. Well, it seems.
I think we are still having issues with Mr. ALAJE's audio. Probably while the technicians get to fix the audio, maybe we should still stay with our guest here in the studio. Looking at it, we have all come to agree that the subsidy removal is really a right step in the right direction. I mean, because we cannot continue to subsidize with huge amount of money that is not even available. And at the end of the day, even the common man on the street is not the one that is really benefiting, from this subsidy, and it must go. What do you think should have really been put in place before this subsidy removal is embarked upon, so that probably we will not really find ourselves in this, we will not have found ourselves in this situation, that we are?
Yes, in as much as we said subsidy should go, of course a lot of measures should have been put in place. We needed to have affected the economy in a place that it will spread. That kind of intervention would spiral across the majority of the population of the Nigerian masses. Because if you look at it, fuel is one thing that is a denominator for most Nigerians. It runs us. Either you're rich or you're poor. I mean, there's a way you must have contact in your chain of productivity. You must have contact with fuel. So your intervention as well must be in that direction. But just that we are doing it for a while. We may be doing it for a sector of the population, maybe the civil servant, maybe the artisans, but not the rich people that can really afford to buy fuel at the non-subsidized rates. So these were supposed to be the, strategic interventions that must have been worked on, designed for different cadre or different demography of our population. Because as you look at it, it's a rainbow population, in the sense that economic income-wise, we have array of different categories of people. So the interventions were supposed to be designed in that perspective. But what do we see? There's nothing. There's nothing. The only organized one that we see that they plan, they've always mismanaged it, is the grants to poor Nigerians. Then you begin to ask, what are the criteria used in selecting the poor Nigerians? You begin to ask, where were they picked from?
So do you think that what has played out after the subsidy removal?
I'm speaking. I don't know if you can hear me. If you can hear me, let me have the feedback.
It shows carelessness, it shows recklessness, it shows a high level of unpreparedness.
I know. Do you think the government, I mean, were caught unawares, were surprised that it
Well, it seems Mr. Paul ALAJE has joined us again, and we can hear him clearly. And now, good morning once again, Mr. Paul ALAJE.
Good morning. Thank you so very much for having me, sir.
Yes, thanks for joining us. We can hear you loud and clear now. So I asked at the other time that your overall assessment of the economic policies of the current administration.
Yeah, thanks once again. Let me say Merry Christmas and Happy New Year in advance to millions of viewers of this program across the globe. I heard your question in the first instance, but I think maybe you couldn't hear mine. I started by saying President Tinubu was sworn into office 29th of May, 2023. As a result, he became officially the president of Nigeria. The president started its own economic policy from first hour in office by saying subsidy is gone. I'm not sure the president was very much aware that that subsidy is gone statement will take effect the next second. Filling station in Abuja, Lagos, and I'm sure Abeokuta, they started adjusting their prices even with their old stock. No plans was in place, no replacement was in place, but we started seeing that prices of commodities started going up to the point that a survey was carried out 2 months after to ask people the impact of subsidy removal on their personal economy. The low-income earners, at least 65% of their income has now been directly affected by the subsidy removal. The so-called rich has parted away with 30% of their income. Head of tail, people are becoming poorer. The only way you can make more money is to increase prices. And if you're a government worker, I am sorry. If you are business persons, the price of commodity will go up. Government worker is also going to the same market to buy from you. Bottom line, the demand side will reduce. Economy is expected to slow this year because of one of those policies. I will get to other policies as time goes on. So economic activity is expected to slow down to about 2% when it comes to GDP growth rate. So the policy itself is not wrong, but how do you put the cart before the horse? It is the horse that will drag the cart. We remove subsidy for a nation that is producing oil but is not refining the same. 11 times, and for those who are on Twitter, I tweeted with my handle Paul ALAJE that 11 government officials had promised us that Port Harcourt refinery will become functional. The antidote, the solution to subsidy removal is functional refinery. Unfortunately, for the 11th time, government officials promised that refineries will be functional. As I speak to you today, not 1 liter has been sold as a result of what came out of Port Harcourt refinery. In spite of the promises, in spite of the assurances, and you can roll back your tape to this year, to last year, to 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago, where government officials had promised that our refinery will start functioning. My advice have been, and I remember I spoke with 1 or 2 of your colleagues when I was asked about subsidy removal before it was eventually removed. My advice have been, don't remove subsidy if your refineries are not working. I will tell you why. Imagine we still have dollar at 199 naira to the dollar. Will there be subsidy today? The answer will be no. One of the things we are paying for is the second policy of Mr. President, which is exchange rate. Government called it unification of naira. The question is, are we truly unified, or we have devalued the naira? In the real sense of it, we have devalued the naira because the naira to dollar seems ununifiable, as the parallel market is still running far from the official rate. So rather than having convergence point of not more than 2 naira to 5 naira, we still have hundreds of naira apart between the two. So what is the essence of the policy in the first place? Because that policy is one of the reasons why you pay more for virtually everything. It's the reason why inflation is running. It's now taller than Cocoa House. Cocoa House is only 26-story building. Inflation in Nigeria is over 28%. 28%. What does that mean? It means that your 100 naira today or 100,000 naira last year, by earning the same amount, which from whichever organization, what it was is now a bit above 71 naira. That is if you are at the middle of the optimum point. But unfortunately, if for you, most of the things that are affected in the basket of commodity happens to be what you consume, then yours might be as low as 40 naira. What does it mean? Poverty, hunger, deprivation, and perhaps evil economic activity is what may be bedeviling our people today. And this will also be evident in insecurity. So in making policy, economists have simulation center. Do not just make policies out of impulse. So there are simulation center. I've said all of those. Let me also say some of the things that I've seen government are done. Since from the new government came to office, inflation never reduced. It has been persistent in growth. We have seen Bureau of Statistics change the parameter for measuring unemployment from 20 hours a week to 1 hour a week. We have also seen President Tinubu gone abroad to woo foreign investors. And I must tell you it's important because what we have seen in the last dispensation is comment like Nigeria is fantastically corrupt. At least we have a new president that is sharing new narrative, even though new narrative is coming at a cost of over 1,400 people going to the UAE. It's so unnecessary. Somebody said it is not all of them government fund, but I can tell you that it is all of them that converted naira to the dollar to travel out. So you are wondering what is happening to exchange rate at the parallel market. It is not allowable. It is making the economy to become deprived, to become depressed, and to become backward.
Yes, well, you've touched on the floating of the naira, but that policy was hailed by many economists saying that seems to be the current reality, the value of the naira, and unfortunately the arbitrage still exists. But what the government have done?
All the economists that applauded government have called me to apologize to me. All of them. We know ourselves. I have told them that the journey you're advising this government to embark on will be the beginning of the end. If government listens to you, it will be the beginning of the end. And I'm not trying to gloat. You see, economics is not when you finish university and you quickly carry the certificate that you are now an economist. You must have a research center where you are looking at what is happening in the current economic reality of today. It is not to use traditional economy that is not applicable in nature and say because literature said this, therefore we should do it. Out of the literature, which one are you looking at, theoretical or empirical? Even in the literature that many of my colleagues have said they are using, is it theoretical or empirical? So it's important for us as media persons to also balance the news when we have people that have read some couple of literatures and said, therefore, government should adopt. Let me tell you the implication. The implication of this unification and subsidy removal is not completely wrong because a sector of the economy benefited, which is government. What is shared at FAC before now was between 400 to 500 billion naira on monthly basis. Today is between 900 to 1.1 trillion naira. What does that mean? All revenue to government. But this revenue, what percentage of money is going to the public apart from paying civil servants? 70% and more in most states are going to recurrent expenditure, not just civil servants, even to overheads. Less than 30% is what is going to capital expenditure. So how will those who are not working with government, who are not responsible to government activity, how will they benefit from the economy, even in spite of that? I'll give you an example. One of the states in Southwest, permit me not to mention the name, but if somebody who loves data, you will check, was owing $99 million. $99 million. That $99 million is a lot of pressure on the state, not the total debt, but the external component. When Naira was 145 at official window, that is the total amount the state is owing, even though the state now has more in terms of revenue. But the moment we devalue, The state is now owing 99 million times 800. That state is even in a more dear situation in terms of debt, external debt only. External debt only. When you now combine that with what that state is owing internally, then you know that it's beginning of the end. So many people are wondering, oh, this our governor know how to dance, but we are not seeing any economic implication. You don't see economic implication because if you don't bother about economy, it will bother about you. Economy is not for child's play. It's not for dancing makosa and dancing gaou, lepa, everything around. Dancing and turning your body. You must understand the working of the economies for you to see results from it.
Even though you have told us that you will not tell us the name of the state, but you have given some of us clue as to the states that you are really talking about.
Well, it's for
now,
you to...
let us look at even the issue, the exchange rate issue. Now, the National Assembly are actually proposing that the federal government should create an alternative to the dollar, should use the make the Chinese yuan what Nigerians can also use to trade for foreign exchange. Probably that would actually reduce the craze for the dollar. Do you think that will actually have any impact, really, if
2016 President Buhari,
some of your colleagues, I mean, economists, are actually pushing out there that probably, I mean, having alternative in the Chinese yuan would reduce the craze for the dollar and probably will bring the value of the dollar down a little.
It's not a new thinking. It's not a new thinking. This is not a new thinking. President Buhari had actually announced currency swap with China. Do you remember? So the currency swap, what was the result? Well, it's not only China that Nigeria is doing currency swap with. You see, shortcuts cannot solve things. I will tell you what the solution lies in terms of monetary, but I must also tell you what the solutions are in terms of trade. This is the profession I've sworn to defend. You cannot say you want to single out the yuan. What are you giving to yuan? What are you giving to China? Until we significantly produce, and I have said solution to Nigeria economic woes lies in plantation if we must practice agriculture. As government have said, agriculture is the way to go. Last administration spent 8 years telling us why we must go into agriculture, but did not have one organized plantation. What a mismatch. So if we must promote and emphasize the role of agriculture, then it has to be from plantation. That's it. 2, manufacturing and processing. If you don't do that, then we are consumed. Look at the three of you, nice, beautiful people in the studio. Very handsome guys in the studio. The 2 of you are on suit. The fabric is imported. The gentleman, the gentle analyst have been speaking brilliantly. He wears native, according to what some people will call it. But he will tell you that the material of his native, even though there are plenty adire in Abeokuta, we now see that Chinese are now importing adire to us. When we have it in abundance in Abeokuta, the solution is that, can we convert school uniform into adire? When I went to secondary school in Loyola College, it was not the checkers I wore in Loyola that made me brilliant or otherwise, no. So we must get to a point where we know that we want to use what we have to solve our problem. Well, imagine 40 million pupils are wearing adire. Do you know the meaning to production? Do you know the meaning to revenue? Do you know the meaning to growth? No, but we will not do it. We will keep importing from China. We will keep importing from India. We will keep, in fact, some schools in Lagos and Abuja, I don't know if it's the same in Abeokuta, you can help me. They have even taken pride in telling parents that don't worry, when you bring your children and works to this school, their school uniforms are imported. That's the pride. What they are telling the parents is that don't worry, your economy will be ruined further. You are going to pay more school fees in the coming period, not because you want to collect, but because school fees would increase because of devaluation of Naira. That's exactly what they are telling parents, and everybody's embracing it. I will start in Ogun State by His Excellency Mr. Governor saying, I want to take a detour. I want to support adire maker. We want to standardize adire making in Abeokuta, which of course is the headquarters of adire in Nigeria. And we, as a matter of urgency and fact, start by using adire for schools and see what the narrative will be. But if we don't, I'm afraid. If we don't, I'm afraid. If we don't, I'm afraid. Poverty, hunger, and deprivation will still hold sway. For how long? Up to the time we are ready to make the difference. So what should we be doing? How do you think? And I say this with all sense of decency. How do we think as a nation? We want to compete with the dollar. How? What is the vote in the dollar? What is the vote in America? What is the vote in Nigeria? How do we think we want to compete with China? Something that has trillions of dollars as their reserve. And how much does Nigeria have? 37, we were told is a lie. 27, we were told is a lie. 11, we were told is a lie. We are even confused. But we know it gets depleted almost now and then. So what should we be doing to now say that Senegal wants to compete against the Western economy, or South Africa, or Botswana, or Rwanda, or Kenya, or Guinea-Bissau? We are joking.
Yes,
Africa must come together.
Mr. Paul, we'll come to what
a single currency to defend their own nation and keep an alternative currency apart from dollars. And this will not come from BRICS. African nation must also have a currency. When you put the population of India together, I'm not sure if it's no more than African population. The same with China. Why can't we organize ourselves and have a single currency instead of France determining the fate of Francophone countries? Let's have a single currency. We can call it any name, but such that anything that is bought up from Africa, it counts for the currency and improves the strength of the currency. And I think this is the way to go.
Well, interestingly, that has been muted. Remember the echo, but economies are also different in Africa, so it remains to be seen how that will pan out. Okay, let's.
But have you seen the euro? Have you seen the euro?
And Mr.
Have you seen the euro?
The president has said it that he is no magician. They've blamed the past administration, according to the grapevine. Naira was printed excessively at some point, so this would happen. Are we not asking too much? Removal of the fuel subsidy, we knew it was going to happen one day, and this federal government claimed that the treasury was almost empty, and they needed that revenue.
I don't think we're asking for too much. If you're asking the president of the nation to sacrifice just like Nigerians are sacrificing, we are not asking for too much. If you're asking the president of Nigeria to cut the expenses of running his office and his colleagues at the legislative arm of government and the judicial arm of government, to cut the cost of running those arms of government, we are not asking for too much. Because you claim that there is no money in the purse of the government when you came in, and you are still the one spending lavishly. Look at all the policies that have been implemented since it came into office. They've all been extractive policies. From the car ownership taxing, which is supposed to be per year. I bought my car, government did not put any money in it. I have to still be paying as the owner of the car every other year. Now they brought up another one from the police registry, vehicle registry. They are saying that we don't even know how true that is. They are saying about 6,000 naira or so. We don't know, maybe that one too will be per year. It's all been extractive policies, and you are busy traveling all over the world, lavishly spending what is not there. And the Nigerians that you people stole their money, the political class have stolen their money for several years, are still the ones to come and bear the brunt of your revamping, of your renewed hope, of your revitalization of the economy strategies. I mean, it doesn't make sense. So Nigerians are not asking for too much. If they are saying that the president and his fellow cohorts are in the political class should begin to cut the cost of running the government, considering the average Nigerian out there that cannot eat 1 square meal in a day. I mean, we heard just before he came into office that about 63% of Nigerians are multidimensionally impoverished. Is that not enough for any sensible people in government to know that they have to cut the cost of running their offices?
Mr. Faloye, I think it's work in progress, and we've seen some actions.
Yoruba will say that ojú tó máa bá ní dalẹ̀ kò ní fàárọ̀ ṣe pé this one has started having Apollo from the first day.
No, we shouldn't generalize.
Okay, and we would expect
we shouldn't generalize.
We expect civility in your comments.
Yeah, please. We shouldn't. I know you are angry.
We are only saying this on behalf of Nigerians that cannot come to your TV station. What is out there is more tense than what I'm saying here. I can tell you. People are going through difficult times out there.
Mr. Faloye, of course, over the years, even Mr. Paul ALAJE talked about the different governments that have come on board to tell us that refineries will start working again. But unfortunately, over time, they have not been able to achieve that. But thank God, there is a light, I mean, at the end of the tunnel, even though the light is not bright enough yet. But we now have the Port Harcourt refinery mechanically completed, as they have said, and it means that it can now be used to test run refining of crude oil. And it means that in no distant time, definitely, we are going to start producing and refining our oil. Also, we also understand that work is ongoing at the Warri refinery and the rest of them. Now, do you think when this come on board, it will have any impact on the current situation as far as fuel subsidy removal is concerned?
Well, one may think that it will if we do what is needed. The refineries are not going to be Santa Claus. They are going to be running businesses. And if the cost of production, all the levels of production, all the factors of production are not well taken care of, we may still be finding ourselves in the same pit that we have found ourselves now. What am I saying in essence? Look at Dangote refinery. It has to import fuel. It's going to change naira to dollar. And you expect him to come?
He has to import
fuel. The fuel he just imported.
Okay. NMPCL, we're supplying crude?
That's going forward.
Yeah, going forward.
Yes. So look at that now. I'm trying to
okay.
Okay. I think our time.
We have to go on a break. We have to go on a break. I'll be back shortly. Please stay with us. You're watching New Dawn right here on the People's Tele.